Howdy y'all, welcome to another video on the Luderco Arms channel. So today we're going to be putting belts on the Scout, specifically power steering belt and the two alternator belts. So that's all the belts that my Scout has. You got a power steering belt going to the power steering pump, and then over here on the other side you've got a dual belt going to the alternator. These are V belts, so you have to do them in order. So you take off the power steering first, then you take off the alternator, and then you put the alternator belts back on, and then you put the power steering pump on. So to get started, we've got to pull this power steering pump belt, and we go right here. Here's our power steering pump. There's a bolt right here, a stud coming out of the pump through this slider bracket. We got to loosen that. We can loosen the bolt on the slider bracket as well. It makes it a little easier. And then in the very bottom of this pump, there's a bolt that goes all the way through the pump, and this sits in this bracket right here. We got to loosen that. So all of these bolts on mine take a 9/16 wrench. So we'll go ahead and loosen these up. So this on mine, it's got a lock washer on it, so you've got to get it loose enough. There we go. So that's loose. We'll go down here and loosen the one holding that bracket. You don't necessarily have to loosen this one, but it does sometimes make it easier. And then down at the bottom there's the other one, and I don't know if it's going to loosen or if I'm going to have to put a wrench on the other side of it. I can just barely get to it right here. Yeah, there we go. All right, so we'll loosen that on and off. Probably have to use 2 wrenches when we go to tighten it. Once you get all those loose, you should be able to push the pump over like that, and then you should be able to have enough slack to get your belt off. And there we go. So we got our belt off. Now I'm going to compare it with this new belt I got, because hopefully it's the right size. Yeah, looks like it. It looks like it. 155/30 is what it says. Yep, that's the same belt. Okay, so that belt's off. Now we got to do our alternator belts, and on it we come around. Now of course your Scout may be different, so mine has this bracket here for an air conditioner. And right here in the front of it, this bolt goes through this bracket, through the alternator, and has a nut on the other side of it under there. But we can get to it easier under here in the finger well. So we've got the bolt on the top. That bolt goes through the top, and then this bolt is in a slider. So we've got to loosen those two bolts, and we should be able to slide that alternator over and remove the belt. So on mine, this bottom bolt takes a 1/2 inch wrench. So we'll loosen that up like so. And I've already loosened the top one. And so now that alternator just pushes over. And we should be able to go up top and pull the belts off of it. And then I've got to finagle the belts through this little gap I've got between the nose of my water pump and the thing there. We'll pull that one out, get it off of the crank down there. There we go. All right, we got our belts off. And we'll try to compare them to these new belts I've got here. Yep, about the same. So we'll take our new belts. Now these are 15/610, but there's so many variations on how all this crap is mounted on different Scouts, so whether or not that particular belt will fit yours is kind of hard to say. But we'll shove this down through the gap, get it around the crank pulley at the back and around there, pull it under here and get it on the alternator. So there's one. Then we shove this one down through the gap and get it on the second slot on the crank pulley. Alternator. There we go. So we make sure that our belts are lined up with in our pulleys, and they are. So we'll come back down here. And what we're going to have to do is aim the camera up in the slot. So we've got to get this pulled over to tighten the belts, and once we get them the right tension we want, we got to tighten up that little bolt on the bottom, and then we'll go up and tighten up the bolt on the top. So let's let me grab a pry bar here. And we'll see if we can't get this adjusted where we want it. Thing's always a pain in the behind to adjust. Got to get it out far enough to get a pry bar on there. But I feel like I'm hitting something here because these belts are not quite. Yeah, well, they're pretty tight. Let me tighten this down real quick. Hopefully I'm still in focus. I don't know if I hit the camera or not. All right. Now we'll go up here and check how tight these belts are. Should be tight, should have a little deflection, which they do. And with V-belts, once we run these for a little bit, we'll have to come back and retighten them. But that should be good. That's probably tight enough. So now we've got to get that top bolt tightened. And look, if you can see, let me get this. If you can see in that gap right there, you can see the nut and washer on the back. You can't really get a whole lot on it, but just a wrench. So I'll stick a wrench up in there and it'll be captured, and then we'll go up top and tighten that bolt up there. Run and get another wrench. All right, so we got our alternator belts on to go back down here, and this will be kind of stuck. We'll have to wiggle it off of there. There we go. Alternator belts installed. Now we'll have to come back around here. Give me a second to grab the stuff here. I know, you're looking at the hood. I'm coming. All right. So we've got our power steering pump here. And its belt comes off the crank down there, and this new belt is unfortunately got a mean twist to it that is going to make it a pain in the ass. Hopefully I'm not blocking y'all, but I'm gonna have to crawl under there real quick and pull that on. Won't take but a second. Okay, we've got it on the crank pulley. Now we just got to pull it, all the slack out of it, and get it on this power steering pump, which is always a pain with these new belts because there's just not enough slack in them. perhaps this is not the right belt. It is the same number as the belt that came off of it, but it is definitely not trying to get on there. I think it's mostly due to all this twist and such, but knowing that doesn't help me. Let me go check in my spares and I will be right back. Alright, apologies for not getting it on film, but I finally got that belt on there. So apparently the I had to stretch the ever-loving crap out of it with my hands and get that stupid, it's got a kink in it, and that's the main thing that's preventing it from working correctly, is that kink. But right now I'm going to tighten this slider down and hopefully the belt will be tight. Alright, so there we go. She is on there. Now I just got to tighten this couple of other bolts on this pump. Tighten them down and we'll be good to go. Hoping that this isn't spinning down here at the bottom. Oh yeah, it's tightening up. Try this other wrench. All right, those are all tightened down. Yep, looks like we are good to go. Knocka, 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 knocka. This motor's always done that. Probably a valve. Ah, there we go. New belts installed. I don't know if this will help any of y'all out or anything, but there they are. They're on there. And appreciate y'all watching, and we will see you in the next video. Y'all have a good one.